My name is Teacher Nyarko. Today I'm here with you to continue your lessons from the classroom. Today we are looking at integers, and it is from your book, Unit 1 and page 8. Integers, we know, are numbers. They are not our usual counting numbers. They are numbers with 0 and numbers that comes with their negative opposite. When we say a number comes with its negative opposite, what we are trying to say, or what I'm trying to say, is that when you have 5 as a positive number, the opposite of 5 becomes negative 5. If you have 2, the opposite of 2 becomes a negative 2. If we look at our number line that we have here, we have the right hand side and the left hand side. Our right hand side of the number line is showing us positive numbers. Equally, we are also having these numbers negative opposites on the left hand side. The right hand side is showing the positive numbers and the left hand side shows the negative numbers. What is the importance of our number line when it comes to integers? The importance of the number line when it comes to integers is that it directs you to find solution to your integers expression. How does it help you to find solution to your expression in integers? 0 on the number line represents the middle of your number line. If you have an equation like minus or negative 3 plus 5, how do you find your answer using the number line? On the number line, when you move on right, it is positive addition. And then when you move on the left hand side, it means negative direction. So when you have your expression or you have your equation, what you have to do is that you have to look at the variables. When I say the variables, I mean the numbers that you are dealing with. What numbers are we dealing with here? We are dealing with negative 3 and then we are dealing with negative 5. If we look at our number line, we have negative 3 here and then we have 5 on the other side. Because we don't have 5 on our number line, so we have to concentrate on negative 3. We are adding a positive variable or a positive number 5. So what you have to do is that you have to stand on negative 3 and make a movement. How are you going to make your movement? First of all, you have to know that your number that you are dealing with is a positive variable or a positive number, which is 5. So you move a 5 steps from negative 3 on the right because we are going on the positive direction. So if you are on negative 3, you move 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We land on 2. So once you make a 5 step and land on 2, it means that negative 3 plus 5 becomes positive 2. This is how we use our number line to find answers to our integers expressions or equation. Another example that you can also look at is negative 2 plus positive 6. How do you find your answer? The same way, we use our number line to find what possible answer it will be. This is 2 and it is negative because it is on the left hand side of our number line. So we have to make a count of 6 because the variable or the number that we are dealing with is 6. So we have to count 6 steps. Each mark here represents a step that you have to make. So we'll start on -2 and then we will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we land on 4. So once we land on 4, it means your answer becomes 4. Guys, this is the first method of finding solution to your integer expression by using a number line. The number line can be longer than this one so that it will help you find solutions to all your equations when you are using the number line to find answers to your integer problems. Once you understand this number line, it becomes very easy for you to find answers to all your integers numbers. Okay, so let's do one more example so that other guys can also know how we find answers to our integer problems. Okay, so now we're going to deal with, because we don't have 5, we cannot write 5 because on our number line we don't have 5, but we have 4. So we have -4 plus +2. Okay. So now we have -4 plus +2. We are going to use our number line to find our answer to this equation. This is your 4, which is -4. We move 2 steps. So 1 and 2. So 1 and 2, it puts us on -2. So it means your answer here becomes -2. I believe this is very easy for you to use at all situations when you are dealing with integers, addition and subtraction of integers. And with that, it's going to be very easy for you to find answers. Guys, now let's move to more practice, because as we all know, practice makes a man perfect. And if you don't practice your math equation as often as possible, you might forget some of your lessons. Okay, so we have 10 practice or 10 expressions that we're going to use to practice our integer equation. Don't forget that the second method of finding solutions to addition and subtraction is using absolute value. What is an absolute value? An absolute value is the number that you see as you are dealing with integers. For example, here, what do you see? You see 3. What do you see here? You see 4. These numbers that you see are what we call absolute values. You don't consider being negative or positive, but the number itself, as you see, it is what we call absolute values. So our second method is what we're going to use over here to find answers to our expression over here. What is the trick here that you have to use to find answers when you are using absolute figures? If you are dealing with an absolute figures, there are 2 or 3 possible options that you might encounter. First, you can see that the signs can be different, so which means that you have 2 different signs here. You have a negative and a positive. And then, at some situations, you can also see that you are having a negative and negative, which means that you have to know the difference between these signs. You have to know if your sign is a positive or it is a negative. Okay, so now let's look at our first equation. So our first equation, we have -3 plus How do we find the answer? When you are dealing with different signs, being negative and positive, how do you handle your situation? What you have to do is that you have to subtract the bigger number, the bigger absolute number from the smaller one. Okay? So you have to subtract the bigger absolute number from the smaller one. And then that will help you to find your answers. Okay, so doing that, you subtract the sign, the one that is keeping the larger sign, from the one that is keeping the smaller sign. Okay, good. So now if you look at this equation, 4 is our bigger absolute number, whilst 3 is the smaller absolute number. So what do you have to do? You have to subtract the absolute number, which is 4. You have to subtract 3 from 4, and then that will give you your value. So now negative 3 plus 4 can also be written as 4 minus 3. These two equations are the same. These two equations are the same. So we are using our absolute value methods to find solution. And if you subtract 3 from 4, your answer is going to be positive 1. Okay, so if you see negative 3 plus 4, it can also be written as 4 minus 3. And as we all know, 4 minus 3 equal 1. It is equal 1, which is a positive number or a positive integer. But as we all know, we cannot put the positive sign here because any number that stands alone on itself is already a positive. So to keep your work in a more standard form, you are not supposed to write a positive sign to the answer that you find unless your answer is a negative. The next equation, we are looking at 3 plus negative 6. So our 3 here is positive because it doesn't carry any sign, any negative sign with it. However, our 6 is carrying a negative sign, so which means that you have $3. However, you are owing someone $6. So in order for you to settle your bills, what you have to do is you have to pay off 3 of your $6 with your $3, and then in your mind you still feel like you are owing that person $3 more. So this equation is the same as 6 is the same as 3 minus 6, because your 3 is what you have and your 6 is what you owe, so you have to do what? You have to pay. So if you are paying your 3 of your 6, your answer is going to be negative 3 because you still owe. Your absolute figure here, the bigger absolute figure here is 6, and your smaller absolute number here is 3. And the rule says that you have to subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. So if you are subtracting the bigger one from the smaller one, this is what you are going to get. That will be your answer. Okay, now let's look at C, or our next equation. The third equation and the second equation have something in common. What do they have in common? The arrangement of the signs are the same. However, our absolute figures are changing. Our bigger absolute number is 5, and our smaller absolute number is 3. So the rule says that you subtract your bigger absolute number from the smaller one. That is the rule. Okay, so this equation is the same as 3 minus 5. That means you have 3, you owe 5. So when you pay off 3 out of your 5, you're still going to owe 2 more. So your answer becomes a -2, which means that you still owe and you still have to make payment to your the person that you are in debt with. Okay, now let's look at some changes here. Our next expression, we have a negative absolute number here, which is almost the same as the other number on the other side. And the rule says that you have to take the bigger one from the smaller one. Now both of them are the same. Coincidentally, they also carry the same signs. Someone will ask, how do you then solve this problem? Okay, so let's write this equation in a different form. If you want to write this equation in a different form, it becomes -5, -5, -5, and -5, which means you owe 5, and then you go and borrow another 5 in addition. Okay, so once you have a negative and a negative sign coming together on the different direction, it means they are all debts. So a debt plus a debt equal debt. So your answer is going to be a debt, which is a negative sign of 10. Guys, I hope you are following, and I hope the equations are interesting for you to practice more and more. Okay, so we are almost halfway. Let's try to finish our exercise for today so that you understand the lessons very well. We have 4 minus 1. Someone will ask, this arrangement is quite different from all the 4 that we have done so far. So what do we do with this equation? The rules of integer or the rules of math say that when 2 negative signs come together, they change to be positive. We cannot change that rule, so we have to keep it in mind all the time. So we have a negative sign here, and then we have a negative sign here. When these 2 signs come together, they tend to become a positive sign. So our 2 equations or 2 absolute numbers coming together here, whilst we have the sign of the same direction, it will change this equation to be 4 plus 1. We all know 4 plus 1 is 5. Very simple. On the next, we have -4 minus -6. If you look at this previous equation and you look at this one, there is some similarities, of course, except that this time around, our number on the left-hand side is carrying a negative sign, whilst we have 2 negative signs coming together in the middle. So we're going to apply the first rule here to the set of signs that we see here before we take a look at this number as well. Okay, so to change this equation is going to be -4. This and this are coming together to be positive, so we'll have plus 6. -4 plus 6. So this is the same as negative 4 minus 6. From the beginning of the lesson, you've already learned that when you have a different sign, what you have to do is you have to subtract the bigger absolute number from the smaller absolute number. The bigger absolute number here is 6, and our smaller one is 4. So we have to do what? Subtract from that. So this equation is going to be as 6 minus 4. And that is going to give us a positive sign of 2. So if you look at this equation, it has to move to this stage, and then to this stage, and then you finally get your answer over there. We're looking at the next equation. We have a minus and a minus. So a minus and a minus will bring us to this point. We have a minus and a minus, and our answer was a minus answer. So if you have a minus and a minus coming together on a different direction, it means that definitely your answer is going to be minus as well, because you owe 4 and then you have to still pay a debt of 6, and debt plus debt will give you a total debt. E and H have something in common, because the signs are having a meeting point here. We have our negative and negative meeting here, so which means that it will turn into a positive sign. Okay, so once it turns into a positive sign, it means we have a positive answer. Our H and that of our E have signs in common. We have our negative sign meeting our negative sign to the other variable. They obviously become positive, and we have positive answer. Negative 3 minus negative 4 also looks the same as our F here, because we have the negative sign on the outside here, whilst we have two negative signs coming together in the inner equation. So our two equations or signs here will change to be positive, and then we will have our expression being written as minus 3 plus 4. You owe 3, and then you get $4. So when you pay your debt of 3, you have 1 that you can spend on other things. So which means that you have a positive 1 as your answer. Negative and negative, a debt and a debt comes together, gives you a total debt. Guys, this is how far we can go with our practice for today, and I believe that you've taken a cue in all the lessons that we've gone through, and you have seen the different way of solving integers using a number line and using an absolute value for solving your equations. I believe that with this practice that we have done, it is going to equip you to solve addition and subtraction of integers. I wish you good luck and see you in the next video. Hello guys, welcome back to the next part of our video. I believe that our lessons went very well with you and you understood whatever that I taught you today. Please, you have to do more practice. Because of that, I have this student activity for you today. You have 15 questions that you have to practice in the house, and then you send to the group for me to check for you. You can find this exercise at page 7 and 8 at the practice book section of your textbook. So in case you are not getting the visuals on the board very well, you refer to your book, practice book, at page 7 and 8. You have all the questions there for you to provide answers with. I would like you to work on these solutions in your exercise books or your notebooks so that you can send through the groups for me to do a check. Once we've gone through our exercises and practice for the day, I have to give you this homework also to know how you understood the lessons very well and how you can practice on your own at home, and so that the lesson can stick into your head very well. So please, you have this homework at the challenge workbook part of your textbook. You open at page 7 and then you work on question 1 up to 6. I believe with all that we have done for today, is going to be very easy for you to do this exercise. And I'm always standing by also to help you with your challenge that you find in the course of doing this exercise. So students, I wish you good luck, and I hope that we'll meet again in our next video. Thank you.